Live from LA Chargers camp, Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio. And the man who holds the purse strings for all the money, who I think fans think if he doesn't give Melvin Gordon a new contract, he gets to keep all the money, right? Like, that's the way it works. Tom Telesco, general manager of the LA Chargers. Yeah, so that's actually why you're sitting a little higher, because your wallet is fuller because you have all that money that everybody wants.
You're trying to save it all up. I have kids that are going to go to college in a couple of years.
We'll get to Melvin in a second. You have one other got a major hole with your offense I want to talk about, and then of course the upcoming preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals. But just a general sense, like, I feel like 2 years ago was your first year here. It was a little bit hodgepodge, you know, and obviously the team got off to a slow start. Last year you had finished strong, it was 9-7, but people are still trying to figure it out. I feel like the crowd's bigger. I feel like it's kind of become a Charger area. I know the Rams are just down the street, but it feels different just from the setup and the importance. What's it like from your perspective?
I would agree with that. Looking back to 2 years ago to today, how much have changed. I mean, our first year here, brand new area, brand new training camp facility. We had no routine for anything, but to see it come the next 2 years, obviously winning 12 games last year helps. The crowds out here have been tremendous, and it's a different feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it was different to get you. I mean, you had your bodyguard, you had your PR guy that we had to go through.
Hey,
you took out your gold teeth, which I really appreciate. Makes the interview better.
I'd let the head coach go first, get the players out of here, and GM goes last. But no, it's been a really good setup. We've seen it grow. It's actually been fun to be part of really a professional sports team. You're really starting from scratch. That's really what it came down to. New area, new routine, and new head coach. And no, it's going where we need it to go.
All right, so how's he done it? Like, he's an interesting guy because he does not, though he comes from the Bill Parcells regime, he does not strike you. His resume does not strike you as that guy's going to be a hell of a head coach. But from 2 years ago when you got off to an awful start and you end up 9-7 to last year, it's not just 12-4, but 12-4 where you win in Pittsburgh, you win in Kansas City, you win in Baltimore. Like, you go into the Lions' den and beat these teams. What's the secret sauce to Anthony Lynn?
I don't know. I mean, you look at who he came up under. I mean, it's Bill Walsh when he was a player, it was Mike Shanahan as a player and as a coach, and then Bill Parcells. Those are three really good head coaches to learn from. Even Rex Ryan in Buffalo, he had a lot of responsibilities on Rex staff. But as a football coach, he just has a great presence about him. He's a great leader. He knows when to be tough on the guys. He knows when to be flexible sometimes. And the biggest thing is what we saw 2 years ago when we started off so slow. The players really believe in him. Like, when he talks on the practice field, all the eyes are right on him. There's no guys looking at their shoes. There's no guys looking out in the air. I mean, he has their full attention, and they believe in him.
He's also old school, though, and the new school mentality is this load management, right? You got to, and as you know, from losing Forrest Lamp 2 years ago, losing Hunter in OTAs last year. Right, it sounds great to get all the work in, but it's a whole lot better when you have him on the field for as close to 16 games as possible. Is he evolving? Because we just talked with him, and it felt like he's thinking about holding. He said we've been dialing back Phillips reps, even going back to OTAs, which I never thought I would hear from Anthony Lynn. Seems like he's evolving.
I think we all are. I think we all have to kind of change. We use a lot of GPS data tracking like everybody else does. We look at the load management, but there's certain guys, Mike Pouncey, Phillip Rivers, dial some of those reps back. But I think the thing that's changed for us the last couple of years is the combined practices that we do. We had 2 days last week with the Rams. We have 2 days next week with the Saints. We get a lot of work ones versus ones, like high tempo, not quite live, but a higher tempo than a regular practice. So we get all that work in there. So that may affect how we play preseason games. But it's a long season, and trying to find that balance of you have to have a tough physical training camp, but you got to be smart about it. We're all looking for that perfect balance. None of us have found it yet, but he's dialed in with that.
All right, everybody wants to know about Melvin Gordon. It came out a couple weeks ago that they had won a new contract. He felt disrespected by it. Of course, his agent said they requested a trade, but you said no, you can't shop him. Is all that information that's out there, is it all accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really listen to a whole lot of the rhetoric, but we've been discussing back and forth going way back for a couple months. So now it's been clear communication on both sides. Just isn't exactly where it needs to be to have him here. So we've got two plans. We have a plan that is here and a plan that is not here. It's our job to be prepared no matter what happens, and that's what we'll do.
What should expectations be? Like, should we expect him to show up this week? What should our expectations be?
I have no idea. So I don't even worry about it. I don't look at odds with a chance he'll be back, with expectations. Like I said, we'll have two plans. one with them here and then one with them not. And we got a chance last year to see some of our other backs play, and they played pretty well. And then they got all the work in OTAs because Melvin wasn't here for OTAs. He was here for the mini camp. But other than that, Justin Jackson, Austin Eckler, and Detrez Newsome took all the snaps, and they're taking all the snaps here in training camp. And it may look different, obviously, because we know how good Melvin Gordon is. Be a little bit more by committee, but we have confidence in those guys too.
I guess there's two other questions to it. One, why not let him shop for a deal?
Our goal is to win a Super Bowl, right? So I have a hard time trading a player that I think can help us win a Super Bowl. We've invested in him. We drafted him in the first round for a reason. We traded up to take him. And we've seen his game just evolve, from his rookie year to now. And he's a great kid. He's a great player. And I'm not really in the mode of giving players away to somebody else to help them win.
Okay, how dug in are you in terms of dollar figures?
We pretty much have an area where we want to be. And like I said, if it works out, I'd love it to. And if it doesn't, we'll talk about it again at the end of the season. And we'll have a plan. If he's not here, then we'll go with the guys we have.
All right, then you got PR. You got Phillip Rivers, who's just 38 years old, 26 or 27 kids. I've completely lost track here.
Yeah,
How many children you have? Do you have any idea what all their names are? It is 9. I think it's 9.
Yeah.
I think it's 9. But now we see Brady, and it's not really an extension with Brady, right? It's a deal. Explain what they did from a front office perspective. It feels like they kicked the can down to save themselves some money.
I haven't seen the actual numbers yet. I'm assuming they gave him a raise for this year, and just to help out with the salary cap space, just made an extension.
So what is that? How does that hurt you? How does that hurt you? Does it hurt you in the future? Like you have to pay?
It could possibly. I don't know what their cap situation is down the road. I have no idea. So
what's it like to deal with Phillip, now 38-year-old quarterback? But he had an outstanding year. Might have tired a little bit late in the year. What's it been like to have him, and your expectations of how long you'll have him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put a ceiling on it, but I've told him we're all on the same page with Phillip. He's great to work with, and I said, obviously you're a quarterback this year, obviously, but I said, we want you to be our quarterback in 2020, and maybe even beyond. We'll see, but I want to make sure there's no uncertainty with him that even though he's not under contract for next year, like he's our guy for next year. We want him here. I know he wants to be here. I said, we'll get the contracts figured out at some point. But there's no uncertainty here. Like he's our guy next year, and maybe even longer. We'll see. I don't think he's looking. I know you guys probably talked to him. I don't know how far out he's looking, but I know he's ready to go from this year and next year.
We'll ask him. We'll talk to him next hour. Tom Telesco joining us. He's the Chargers GM. It's Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. And then you had kind of the scary news about Russell Okung,
yes,
who's not only super talented, super bright. We share the same university, obviously, so you have to be bright just to get into Oklahoma State.
There we go. Nice plug.
But he is a super bright dude, and he has a pulmonary embolism. So he has a blood clot that went all the way to his heart, like that.
To the lungs, yep.
To his lungs. Sorry, pulmonary. Yep. My bad. So
John Carroll University, by the way.
There you go. Excellent. So what? I mean, first you're concerned about his health.
Yes, absolutely.
But I know how blood clots work. Like you can't make human contact with somebody else because you're on blood thinner for a certain amount of time. When did you find out about this, and what's the prognosis?
Yeah, so it happened in early June, and obviously it's an injury that we don't see very often. And thank God that he caught it at the right time, and we're lucky that between Hoag Hospital here in Newport and Cedars-Sinai, he's got great people to work with him, and it's just like a wait and see. There's just a kind of open timetable, but the number one thing is to make sure you're healthy and make sure he's safe, and then we'll just wait. Like that's just the way, it is what it is.
But it's usually like 3, because I told this story. My friend Miles Simon is an assistant with the Lakers. He's like 3 months minimum. Is usually, and then they have to do scans, keep doing scans to make sure there's no other clots.
Yeah, there'll be checkpoents along the way, but we won't know anything until probably early September.
Have there been any other clots, or just that one?
I think just one that I'm aware of. Huh. But we'll see where he is in September and kind of go from there. It could be early, it could be later. Not really sure, but we want to make sure he's healthy and safe, number one, and then we'll take the rest of it from there.
What did you learn from the thumping in New England?
Oh man, a lot. We had such a good season, and for it to end like that in that game, that just didn't seem like that was us. I mean, I don't know if anybody played well in that game, and it happens. Obviously, they're a good football team. The farther you get in the playoffs, you play better teams. Just for us that day, it just didn't. It didn't happen. A lot of it's my fault as far as the defensive side of the ball, our linebacker group. We didn't have enough guys there. I mean, Gus Bradley did the best job you could have done with what we had late in the season, the playoffs. We played 6 defensive backs, 7 defensive backs. But in the end, when you really get down in the playoffs, you got to have a full defense, and we didn't have enough there. And then offensively, we just didn't move the ball that well. You just have to get back on the horse and start all over again.
That's weird. It's like, what's that feeling like to have won in Kansas City, in Pittsburgh, going to win and beat Baltimore the week before, and then you're just so helpless? You guys are down.
It was
like
ugly early.
28-7.
It was ugly early. We fought back at the end, which I'm not surprised, but it was way too late. But the thing is, you take that, and I use the example with our team, and I'm not sure what year it was with the Colts. We had a pretty good year. We go to New York to play the Jets in the playoffs. They beat us like 41-0. It wasn't even close. And that next year, that game, that drove us the whole offseason to how it ended like that, to lose that badly. And that's what we have to use for this. I mean, I don't want to forget about that game. We had a good year last year, 12-4, tie for the division title, but I don't want to forget that New England game because that should drive us through because we have to start all over again.
You mentioned linebackers. Kansas City, obviously, last year, they beat you pretty good, although there were some couple of makeable plays, 4 drops in the end zone. Maybe it's a different game. But you finally get the monkey off your back and beat Kansas City on the road.
Yep, at their place.
But they had to change their defense, and they did somewhat, and they still have that slinger back there at quarterback and all their weapons. How are the Chargers going to look different and better this year from last season?
Well, I think our defense has changed a little bit. Like I said, we actually can play with linebackers a little bit more often. We added Thomas Davis there. Jerry Tillery is starting to get more work. He'll be probably more full next week. But our defense is physical and it's fast, and we'll see where that goes. Offensively, it may look different. We don't know if Melvin's going to be back there. Will he be there? Will he not? Our offensive line will not be exactly the same as it was last year, more than likely. Our 2 opening day tackles are Joe Barksdale and Russell Okun. So when Joe is no longer here, so that may look different. Tyrell Williams is no longer here, so now Mike Williams, who we're really happy with, he'll have a bigger role. May not be the exact same role that Tyrell had because Tyrell has a different skill set than Mike.
You have Hunter Reilly back.
We have Hunter back. Yes. So it's like every year is a different team. I mean, the core of our team's together, but it's just not the exact same team as last year.
It should be really, really fun to watch. Appreciate your time and your insight, and let us hang out and watch your practice.
Anytime. Thanks for coming out.
All right, it's Tom Telesco, the general manager of the Bolts. Hi, I'm Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio, and you need to subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel where you can hear and see me. Why not? Plus everybody else who's awesome here in Fox Sports Radio.